The Enemy by Paul S. Buck. It is a thought-provoking story which highlights how a doctor's duty as a trained medical practitioner towards a patient makes him rise above the narrow national prejudices. He risks his honor, position, and life, as well as that of his wife and children, by sheltering a runaway prisoner of war of the enemy camp and saving his life. The conflict in doctor's mind as a private individual and a citizen with a sense of national loyalty is beautifully portrayed. The scene of the action is a spot on Japanese coast. Dr. Sadao Hoki's house was a low, square stone-built house. It was set upon rocks well above a narrow beach outlined with bent pines. Sadao's father had a deep concern for his son's education, so Sadao had been sent to America at 22 and to learn all that he could learn of surgery and medicine there. He returned at 30. He became famous not only as a surgeon but as a scientist also. It was the time of World War. Japan was at war with America. Dr. Sadao had not been sent around with the troops. The old general was under medical treatment and he might need an operation. So Dr. Sadao was being kept in Japan. Sadao watched mist hide the outlines of little island near the shore. Then he came creeping up the beach below his house. His wife Hana came out, put her hand on his arm. It gave him pleasure. Then she laid her cheek against his arm. At this moment, both of them saw something black came out of the mist. It was a man. He staggered a few steps. Then the curled mist hid him again. Hana and Sadao leaned over the railing of the veranda. They saw a man crawling on his hand and knees. Then he fell down on his face and lay there. They thought that it was perhaps a fisherman who had been washed away from the boat. When they came towards him, they saw that he was wounded. He lay motionless. They saw his face. Hana whispered that he was a white man. Sadao began to search for the wound. Blood flowed freshly at his touch. In order to stanch the fearful bleeding, he packed the wound with a sea moss. The man was unconscious. He moaned with pain in stupor, but did not awaken. Sadao muttered, "What shall we do with this man?" He said that the best thing they could do was to put him back in the sea. Hana agreed with it. Sadao explained that it was a difficult situation. If they sheltered a white man in their house, they would be arrested. If they turned him over as a prisoner, he will certainly die. They were staring upon the inert figure with a curious repulsion. Then they tried to find out what he was. He looked American. The battered cap had faint lettering U.S. Navy. They concluded that he was a sailor from American warship. The man was a prisoner of war. He had escaped and wounded in the back. Hana asked Sadao if they were able to put him back into the sea. Sadao hesitated. If man had been whole, he could be turned over to police, hold him without difficulty, as he was his enemy. But Americans were his enemy. But since he was wounded, they should not throw him back into the sea. Hana observed that there was only one thing left to do. They must carry him into their house. Sadao was not sure about the reaction of the servants. Hana suggested that they must tell the servant that they intended to give him to police. She said that they must do so, otherwise all of them would be in danger. Together they lifted the man. He was light. They carried him up the steps into the side door of the passage. They carried him into an empty bedroom. Since the man was quite dirty, Sadao suggested that he had better be washed. If she fetched the water, he would wash the man. Sahana could not bear him touch the man. She offered to tell maid Yumi. Sadao took the responsibility of informing others. The pallor of unconscious man face moved him first to stop and feel the pulse. It was fainted, but it was there. He put his hand against the man's whole breast. The heart too was yet alive. Sadao observed that he would die unless operated upon. The man was very young, perhaps not even 25. The man was to be washed first. However, the servants refused to do so. They did not want their master to heal the enemy.